Happy Taco Thursday. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Aaron B. And welcome to Tacos and Touchdown Live. And it's Cowboys versus Charger preview. The game on Monday, of course, before the bye week and everything. So Shane won't be on the show tonight, but we do have a special guest for y'all around 7:15-ish or so. But we're gonna have to, we gotta give love to our sponsor before we even start the show. That is the MO of the show. Let's get into it. So our first sponsor is What a Clean Solution. Need to get your carpets clean, couches, tile, and grout. You moving in or moving out? You need to get a place to look. You need your place to look brand new. Call What a Clean Solution, a family-owned mobile cleaning service. Uh, Family-owned cleaning service that clean anything from a small carpet to even making your car or truck look brand new. Give them a call or text at 210-790-1410. Use promo code TNT for 5% off your total cleaning. That is promo code TNT for 210-790-1410 for 5% off. So shout out to our first sponsor, and that is What a Clean Solution. And we're going to get into our next sponsor, and that is SeatGeek. Life's event, we have the tickets, concert, games, shows, and more. Use promo code in all capital letters, Tacos Touchdown, and get your $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek, a ticket for every fan. And if you're a Spurs fan like me, and you're a Dallas Cowboy fan or whatever, or you want to go to a concert, anything, use the promo code, save you $20 off. That $20 can go to, I don't know, to a margarita or something, or parking. Parking, they're charging for parking and everything. It's my bad. I forgot I had my phone on loud, and that is rude of me. So that's my bad. But yeah, use that $20. You can use that $20 for a little something. Going to these concerts. Every little money you can save to enjoy your time there. That's what we're for it for. We want to show love to y'all. Appreciate y'all for all the follows, the comments, and everything in there, and just sharing this podcast to help it grow. But before I get a little way off topic, we're gonna keep to the task at hand. And it's a little bit of the sad news, but it's part of football. It's the injury report, and the injury report is from the last game that it was a tough loss, and we lost a couple. We lost three key contributors to this team, and that is Leighton Vander Esch with the neck injury. If you've been knowing, Leighton Vander Esch had dealt with neck injuries back in the Boise State days. That's why he wears a neck brace. He's not doing it to look cool; it's to protect the neck. But he did go down with a neck injury, and they said it's between 4 to 8 weeks. And then we had Kavonte Turpin. I think he's out for 4 to 6 weeks with the ankle injury, and he had that touchdown last week, so. That's another one that's a loss when it comes to being that guy as a receiver and as a returner. So that's going to be a big loss. And a guy that some people may know, may or might not know, and that is CJ Goodwin, who's a special team ace on our team, is that gunner that makes an impact on special team. He is out for the whole season with a torn pectoral. So we're looking at who's going to replace those players on that there. But they did sign linebacker Rashaan Evans, who coincidentally was a part of the same draft as Leighton Vander Esch in the 2016. And that is Rashaan Evans, linebacker out of Alabama. He's 6'2", 232. Recently, it was in practice today, is wearing the number 57, the same number he wore in college. So if we can get that same type of Rashaan Evans, that's a big plus. But last year, he had his career high of total tackles with 159 tackles and 73 tackles, assisted tackles. So you can say he's a tackling machine. And I see this as a plus when it comes to our defensive line, freeing up the gap in the space where he can make those tackles. He'll be a definitely impact as that thumper on this team. He's not the best in coverage, but a guy at his caliber in October, that was a good addition. Don't know if he's going to play this game. He's saying that he can. They had an interview. He said he's ready whenever. But, it's up to the coaches. Okay, can we acclimate into the defense? He's probably going to get 2 to 3 days of practice. compared to the guys that have weeks and months of practice with the Cowboys. We'll see. Maybe he'll be activated next week well, not next week. We got the bye week, but the week after. I think that's most likely going to be the scenario. But we'll see. I think the addition of Rashawn Evans is definitely a plus after losing LVE because we're paper thin at linebacker. Because I don't know if y'all look, I think we on had Marquise Bell and Damone Clark, and you gotta have depth, and that's what we didn't have at the time. We were already thin on depth, and now going down with LVE is kind of low. You gotta add somebody in there. I know we have Malik Jefferson on the practice squad, and we recently signed Mikael Jones, but we need a guy that's a savvy vet out there. And we traded a lot of our what's it called, our draft capital. We had to look and find. We had to add more. We had to get more depth on this team, and then you got a potential starter with him and Damone Clark, and then you rotate Marquise Bell who can break down in the pass coverage. That's a good addition. So we have we're looking at four guys out there because they may activate another linebacker between Malik Jefferson and Mikael Jones, who do we think is more suitably fit, or we may go rock with those three. We know Marquise Bell plays safety and linebacker as well, but we'll see. It's gonna be an interesting game. And it's basically the homecoming of the most loved coach in Cowboy history, Kellen Moore. But can't wait to have our guest on the show in a few minutes or so. But that it's gonna be it's interesting after we know most of the time when we play in a game and we lose the next week, we usually win the game. But it's kind of more of an interesting scenario because you're playing against a familiar face when it comes to on the coaching staff, with a Kellen Moore and a Doug Nussmeier. So I don't think it's gonna be one of the walk in the park type of games, in my honest opinion. I think it's gonna be a close game because you got a guy that knows the coaching, the personnel on the team, been here since as a player and now and a coach. It's kind of interesting situation. It's kind of the untraditional way of how a coach uh, gets acclimated to the NFL. But we'll see. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't want to take all the surprises of what I got going on in my brain, but just waiting on getting our guest on. Let me see if I have any other thing that list before we have him on. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a fun game. Let me see. Just checking my notes. I don't want to be like, dang, we have our guest, and then I get in the show and be like, oh man, I forgot to bring this up. But one thing is, I think CD Lamb needs to get more targets. He's our wide receiver one, and you see that he's frustrated. And I think it's not his fault, not just his fault. It's not Dak's fault. And it's like an overall the scheme that you're in. The scheme that you're playing is like Mike McCarthy said, it's the same scheme that he did in the Packers. And that was back in the early 2010s. You got to get into the 2020s, Mike. You got to get into it. Like, I seen there was like plays where he was literally open, but Dak was throwing it to receivers that were not open or the tight end, and CD would be open, and there would be some time where the ball's right there and CD would drop it. It's like a mixture of a little bit of everybody. I'm not going to be the one that just specifically blame. Oh, it's Dak's fault. It's CD's fault. It's the scheme. It's overall together. It's like, come on, we got to get that together, and overall just play to the strengths of the players, not just force a scheme that doesn't work with the players you have. You gotta fit some with. You gotta have a scheme that is acclimated to who you have on your personnel. Just checking this message in our guest real quick. For sure. Okay, sounds perfect. I know we're doing a live show, but hopefully we're gonna have him on soon. Sorry, I'm over here multitasking. at its finest. So I appreciate y'all for appreciate the people that are in the live for sure. I appreciate y'all for sure. But can't wait to have our guests on. But that's my little tidbits on that. I'm trying to make sure that I am not missing anything. I got notes everywhere. I got notebooks on side of me. I have a scrambled mind at times, but we're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through it. Let me see if I'm missing anything. Appreciate y'all for. Oh, and if y'all haven't checked out, we just posted our off the ball network power rankings. Definitely go check that out. This will be a little interesting, and I hate to say it, the Cowboys are not in my top five power rankings after that loss. They definitely got to show out next week, this week. Sure. Let me see. Let me see if I'm missing anything. I hate when I do that, but it's all good. Let me think. I just I don't know. I don't want to say everything that because we're gonna have our guests on, and I don't want to say my keys to victory and everything. But let me check. Ooh-wee. I think we'll be good. But appreciate y'all for tuning into the show. If y'all have any questions, comment, and everything, I definitely would be interested to see what y'all got going on. It could. Oh, we have our guest on. Let me get him on real quick. What's going on, Steven?
Hey man, how are you?
No, pretty good. Before we start getting talking, this is our special guest, Steven, host of the Guilty as Charged podcast. How's it going?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
No, pretty good. Can't complain. Definitely can't wait to talk about some Cowboys versus Chargers game because I think it's gonna be a good game. It's the homecoming of Kellen Moore and everything. So, but since we're tacos and touchdown, we know we got to add some tacos in here. So, what's the best taco spot you ever been to in your area?
Best taco spot I've ever been to in my area. So I live in Utah. We have a place called Lone Star Taqueria up in Salt Lake City. That's fantastic. The carne asada is the best in the area for sure.
And how's the atmosphere at Lone Star?
That's pretty good, man. Pretty good. It's kind of a quicker place, so it's not necessarily like a restaurant, but
Oh, okay.
it's a pretty rapid pace area.
Okay. So my next question is, what was that person or Charger player that you're like, okay, this is gonna be my team?
For me, it was obviously LT back in the day. You know, I had an uncle who was stationed in the Navy in San Diego. And growing up, we just kind of went down and visited him a bunch of times and went to some games. And LT was the one who got me hooked for sure.
Yeah, that was my guy. I was a Cowboy fan, but I was like, man, I always wanted LT, the Texas guy, and he went to TCU, but it didn't happen. He did it. He worked. He balled out and with the Chargers. Had some great years there. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame that for that being that the guy. You're like, okay, this will be my squad.
Yeah.
But before we get into it, how'd you get into like the sports media game?
Well, I when I was in college back in like 2017, I started writing for Bolt Beat, which is the fan-sided site for the Chargers. Sports media has always been a passion of mine, and so being able to write about the team, was a lot of fun in college, and then that's where I got connected with my co-host Tyler, who was the site manager at the time. And right after the 2019 season, we were just kind of talking and brainstorming about like ways we can improve the site, and eventually just decided to come up with a podcast, and that's when we started it. So we've been doing the podcast since 2020, and it's been a ton of fun.
I got to check out a little bit of the show. Y'all definitely do great work on your shows.
Oh, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. So my next question, I didn't want to get your honest opinion. What is your thoughts on the Kellen Moore's offensive scheme compared to Joe Lombardi, who y'all had last year?
Oh, it's night and day, man. It's night and day. Kellen Moore has been a great addition to the team. There's more motion, there's more creativity, there's more, a vertical presence. I think Justin Herbert is like sixth in the league in average depth of target right now. He has the most attempts of 20 air yards or more. So they're trying to open things up, which is something that we obviously never really saw come to fruition under Joe Lombardi. It was a very static, motionless, there's a creative void. And so, having Kellen Moore in tow has been it's been a lot of fun to watch so far.
When I've seen he got hired by the Chargers, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. Definitely for the personnel that the Chargers have. Like, this
Yeah.
would be a good fit for the scheme that he got going. Because
Yeah,
y'all do, like you're saying, he loves the vertical routes, and I'm like, y'all have the receivers that do that, and then you have the Austin Eckler, and then you have the quarterback with Justin Herbert that fits perfect for him.
for sure. For sure. It's been a lot of fun. We haven't seen much of him using Austin Eckler. He's been injured, obviously, but
Yeah.
he should be back on Monday night, and that'll be a big boost to the team for sure.
Yeah, when I seen the injury report when he said 99% chance he's gonna be back against the Cowboys, man, that's a tough one, but I can't wait. But my next question: Who's been like that? Who's that underrated player on the offense? The Keenan Allens and the Austin
Mm.
Eckles and Justin Herbert. And it don't have to be a skill player. What's a guy that people don't really talk about, but as Charger fans, y'all like, we're glad to have him on this team.
I'm an offensive line guy first and foremost. So I think Jamari Sawyer is probably the most underrated player on the team. He's a former 6th-round pick out of Georgia. He saved our season last year. Filling in for Rashawn Slater at left tackle. They drafted him to be a guard, which is where he's playing now. And he was an above average left tackle for them as a rookie. Now he's playing guard and he's playing at a really, really high level. Brandon Thorne, who's the offensive line guru out there on social media, is a big fan of Jamari, and he's just a big people mover. He's so strong, physical at the point of attack, and just gives them something different that they don't really have, because most of the other Charger offensive linemen are more like athletes, smooth movers, technicians, and so Jamari just kind of provides that bully ball sense that I think every offensive line needs. He's been a rock solid player for the Chargers so far.
It's nice to have those finesse type of offensive line, but you kind of need that mauler
Yeah.
in there, especially in the interior lineman, because you kind of want your interior lineman to be those guys that go past the whistle a little bit, moving those defensive linemen around so your running back, your quarterback can have some time. And I could definitely see why that could be an underrated player.
Yeah, offensive line in general is an underrated spot, right? But skill player wise, I will say I think Gerald Everett is a really key piece for this offense. He's not going to be like a top 5 tight end by any means, but they'll go to him when they need some explosive after the catch opportunities. That's kind of his calling card. He's not a great blocker, but he tries really hard at it.
Yeah.
So he's an underrated skill piece for them. I think without Mike Williams, I think he's going to be a key piece moving forward for this team. They've just kind of got to figure that part out.
Absolutely. So now getting into the defense, do you think Khalil Mack should be more into defensive player of the year type of status? Everybody talks about the Myles Garrett's, TJ Watts, but you don't hear as much as Khalil Mack. Do you think he deserves to be in that list right now? I know it's early in the season.
Yeah, I love Khalil. I have him, over here on behind me. But I think the 6 sack game was obviously incredible. But if you watch the first 3 games, it was more kind of some pressures here and there. Run defense has been like the best thing about him so far this year. So defensive player of the year is probably a bit much. I don't even think he's the best edge rusher on the team. I think that's Joey Bosa when he's healthy. So it's tough. Like I don't want to discredit Khalil, but I think those other guys that you mentioned, Max Crosby's in that same conversation too, are just kind of on another level. And Micah Parsons as well. So Khalil's a really solid veteran presence, but defensive player of the year is probably a bit much.
I just wanted to ask and everything. He did really have a real good game, but we talk a lot about the draft on this show in April.
Sure.
There's one guy that is actually standing out a little bit, and that's Tully. Was it Tupelotu from USC? Who was an inside guy?
Thule, yep.
Yeah, Thule. He was an inside guy at USC, but now he's more the outside type of guy. Lost I think 20 or 30 pounds. What are your thoughts on him on this team?
Yeah, at USC, they kind of had him playing all over the place. The first game that I studied of his was they were playing Stanford, and he was playing like nose guard for them. And I was like, I thought this was supposed to be an outside guy. But, he did a bit of everything there. He's definitely exceeded any expectations I would have had for him. I was pretty high on him I thought he maybe would have to play a bit of a hybrid inside outside role to be successful, but he's doing a lot of edge rusher stuff, and then they'll mix him up as kind of like a stand up rusher. But the thing that stands out most is his ability as a run defender. He's incredibly disruptive against the run. Right now, PFF has him top 5 at the position among all players in the league in run stop percentage. So he's very, very active. He's got an incredibly high motor. I wouldn't say he lost 20 to 30 pounds in the offseason, but he definitely lost quite a bit. He definitely has more juice to him than he showed at USC. But he's been active at every single spot. And, we went down and watched him play in the preseason and against the Rams, and he had, a couple run stops, had a sack that day. We watched him in the scrimmage, and he just had, a very impactful scrimmage that they had. And so he's kind of aced every step of the way so far. I'm excited to see Joey Bosa hopefully get back in the swing of things, because that just kind of frees everybody up a little bit more. But Tule's been awesome, and I think you'll see his name called quite a bit on Monday night.
Yeah, I can already feel it in my bones. We're definitely going to be hearing his name a little bit. But my next question is, when it comes to the pass defense, I know y'all are 32nd in yards per catch. What is something that this team could do to improve on the pass defense?
Yeah, the pass defense has been a struggle for sure. Some of that has been the J.C. Jackson situation. They obviously shipped him off basically in a salary dump to the Patriots last week. And some of those numbers are kind of inflated by the Miami game. But we've heard a lot of chatter from the team and from the reporters that just like that whole J.C. Jackson situation just kind of was a cloud over the whole secondary. And, they were never able to get into the swing of things, never able to get into a rhythm. Nobody was really playing confident. And so, we're hoping, obviously, as Chargers fans, that now that J.C. Jackson is off the team, that this unit will kind of get settled down a little bit more, because they have the pieces. I know I talk a lot with Jay Tuck on Twitter. I know he was a huge Asante Samuel Jr. fan, and Asante has been the one kind of consistent piece so far this season. But Michael Davis last year was a quality corner. They drafted Jasir Taylor, who's going to be playing the slot for them in the 5th round last year. And so they have the pieces to be better than 32nd for sure. They've just got, I think, like I said, hopefully this, J.C. Jackson situation getting resolved really helps them settle things down, because obviously 32nd is not good enough.
Yeah, because when they signed him, everybody thought that was going to be that next key piece, and then it just didn't work out.
Yep. That's an understatement. They paid him like $40 million for 7 starts, basically, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, it was a good chunk of change. When it came to Asante Samuel, I was another fan of him. And we got Kelvin Joseph. Didn't pan out. He's with the Miami Dolphins, but I was like, good at Asante Samuel right next to Trayvon, and we could have Deron Bland on him. But I'm not going to dwell on it. But
sure.
So I know we're a little bit short on time, but I wanted to ask, what is one of your key matchups for this game?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest matchup that I don't know how much we'll see about it, but one of the things I respect a lot about Michael Parsons is his willingness to go up against elite guys. And so we believe that Rashawn Slater is one of the best tackles in the league. I think that he's certainly one of the best pass protectors. And so I'm hoping that we see a good amount of Slater versus Michael Parsons, just from like a sheer trench fan standpoint. I would love to be able to go watch the film and see some of that matchup. But I think the right tackles in both of this on both sides are kind of the matchups there, because I think the offensive lines for both of these teams are pretty similar. You have like a stud left tackle, you have a stud left guard, you have a quality right guard, or the best right guard probably of the generation. But the right tackle on both sides, I feel like is probably the weak point. And so how do the Chargers take advantage of Terrence Steele? Can they create some instant pressure on Dak that way? Can the Cowboys create some instant pressure by taking advantage of Trey Pipkin and create pressure on Justin Herbert? So that's kind of like the weak point, which is crazy to say, because both players I feel like are pretty solid players. But that's probably like the matchups that I would focus in on as somebody who wants to create some pressure on the quarterback, is how do they attack the right side on both ways.
Yeah, that's one of my main key matchups is in the trenches. And one matchup I wanted to see was the Joey Bosa and Terrence Steele. Terrence Steele had a really good game last year against Joey Bosa. Terrence Steele has had a solid season so far, but he's just coming back from that ACL injury. I
Mm.
want to see those two going at it again. And just overall, just the offensive line versus the defensive line. But before I let you go, I wanted to get what is your three keys to victory do you think the Chargers need to do against the Cowboys?
Uh, First and foremost, I think the Chargers have to disrupt timing and rhythm of the Cowboys offense with their secondary pieces and their linebackers, crowd some passing lanes, and hopefully, create a turnover or two. Second is obviously protect Justin Herbert. This Cowboys defensive line, I have a lot of respect for it. We'll see how much linebacker Micah Parsons is going to play. I don't know how much you buy that or not from Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn. But this Cowboys defensive line is deep, and I think the Chargers have to really be, creative with how they protect Justin Herbert. And then third, they got to get Austin Eckler going. This is going to be his first game back. This is a great way to take pressure off of Justin Herbert is by running the football. So those are my three things, crowd passing lanes on defense, protect Justin Herbert, and get Austin Eckler going.
And when it comes to Michael Parsons, he's definitely going to be playing some linebacker, but they're going to be moving him around. They're going to have him right in the inside and the outside and probably play some edge. The thing about this year is the depth has gotten better. And I think I'm definitely going to see some movement. But one thing that my key to victory is we got to generate pressure and create turnovers as well. Because last week we only had one sack. It's like that's not going to be good enough playing against the Chargers. I think this is a better Chargers team than last year, and I've definitely been seeing improvement.
For sure.
Then you have the addition of Austin Eckler coming back. So yeah, you got to definitely contain Austin Eckler in the passing game and well in the running game. Because we're still struggling when it comes to the run defense, but this is the time where those linebackers got to step up and the defensive lines got to step up, especially with you have Hankins as that run stopper and freeing up that space for the linebackers to run free. That's what you got to do. And offense, it can't be so generic where the generic fan is like, oh, okay, this is a run, this is a pass. You got to put some creativity into it and utilizing the strengths on your team, and you got to utilize a CD Lamb, Jason Ferguson, and Brandon Cooks hasn't had the opportunity to really show what he really can do. So I think those are my keys to victory when it comes to against the Chargers.
There we go. Yeah, I've been surprised at the lack of Brandon Cooks because it was like that felt like kind of a missing piece kind of situation, and I don't even think he's really made that much of an impact. So very curious choice by Mike McCarthy there to not really get that guy going. And CeeDee Lamb, like you mentioned, I'm such a fan of CeeDee Lamb's game. I loved him coming out of Oklahoma. So this is a very positive matchup for CD if they use him the right way. Jasir Taylor, their slot corner, can be had vertically. I think he's a really solid tackler and really solid in short area instances. But he's not the most comfortable when people can get past him. So it'll be very interesting to see if Mike McCarthy opens things up a little bit for CD.
Absolutely. Do you have a score for the game?
Yeah, I think, if you had asked me this question on Saturday, I would have had a very different conversation, but a very different answer, I should say. But I have not been super impressed with what Mike McCarthy has been doing on offense. And I think the Chargers are going to be able to slow the Cowboys offense down a little bit. So I think high scoring affair. But I do think the Chargers have enough pieces with all the guys coming back to win. I'll say 30-27 Chargers win.
I can respect that. I definitely can respect that because I have the Cowboys winning, but it's going to be a tight game as well. I got it 27-21 Cowboys. I think there's going to be some ups and downs, but I think at the end of the game that we get stuff figured out. But it's definitely this offense definitely needs to improve further on to the season because after the bye week, we're playing against the Eagles, and the Eagles ain't nobody to play with. But
yeah, that's a tough one.
Absolutely. But I appreciate you, Steve, for being on the show. Before I let you go, I didn't say that a couple of times, but where can they find your podcast at?
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. I know Shane wasn't able to make it tonight, but Shane has been very kind with his time on our show a couple of times. So appreciate him and appreciate you as well. But you can follow me at Stephen I. Hagland on Twitter. You can find us at the Guilty as Charged podcast on social media platforms, as well as YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. And we are featured on the Teams podcast channel as well. We just published our game preview there yesterday. So that's the main Chargers channel as well.
Yeah, this is appreciate you again. This has been Tacos and Touchdowns. Y'all have a good one.